De persvrijheid in Israël die komt steeds verder onder druk te staan. Eerder dit jaar sloot de Israëlische regering het kantoor van de nieuwszender uit Qatar, Al Jazeera. Deze week kondigde de regering een boycott aan van de Israëlische krant Haaretz. En bovendien zijn er plannen de publieke omroep te privatiseren en daarmee eigenlijk op te heffen. Onafhankelijke media die zijn steeds vaker doelwit. En ook in het buitenland, zoals hier in Nederland, laat de regering Netanyahu haar invloed gelden. Eerder vanochtend sprak ik met Anat Saragusti, directeur persvrijheid van de vakbond voor journalisten in Israël. Anat Saragusti, welcome to our show. First of all, would you say that the freedom of Israeli press is at stake at this moment?
Definitely so. Good morning and thank you for having me. Yes, the free press in Israel is under severe threat by the government.
Israel calls itself the only democracy in the Middle East. So does that still hold up?
I think democracy is based on two foundations. One is the independency and strength of the legal system, and the other is the strength of the independent media and free press. And unfortunately, the government of Israel is trying to weaken both foundations. So we really face something very, very concrete now.
Why did the government target the newspaper Haaretz?
Because Haaretz is the only media outlet in Israel, a mainstream media outlet that covers the war in Gaza from all its angles and bring to the Israeli audience and its readers also the scales of atrocities inside the Gaza Strip, the amount of the casualties, destruction, everything that goes on during this war, and not only the Israeli point of view like the other media outlets in the country. So it's too critical towards the government. The government doesn't like its critical stance. So it tries to, put some sanctions to weaken its economic sustainability.
So are you saying that Haaretz is only one of the few that is reporting about what is happening in Gaza? If I would watch television in Israel, would I see any of the images of what is happening there?
Very, very rarely, if at all. I mean, in a way, I can say that the Israeli media is still covering the October 7th events and didn't move forward, while the world covered extensively what happened on October 7th, all the massacre and the atrocities within Israel, but then moved on to Gaza because the war now is in Gaza and not in Israel anymore. So what the Israeli audience are watching television in Israel, they don't see the scale of the humanitarian crisis there, at least not in details, but very, very general picture. The journalists mainly cover it from the military point of view, and they go into Gaza in bed, into army units, and the army is the one to decide who goes in for how long, with what unit, and everything is subject to military censorship.
Would you say that the Israeli government, or maybe it's even the goal of Prime Minister Netanyahu, to set in stone the image that he wants to present about this war, and that maybe media are intimidated by the government?
Yes, Israel wants to control the narrative that goes out. And the media and journalists, mainly journalists, are intimidated. There is you have to understand that there is a master plan to weaken the free press in Israel. And this master plan works in a few dimensions. One dimension is the legislation. They presented a long list of legislation to weaken the free press in Israel. For example, they have an executive order that enabled them to shut down Al Jazeera in Israel, their offices in Jerusalem and in Ramallah in the West Bank, and also block access to their websites in Israel. Now they want to broaden this and extend this law and to have the ability to shut down every media outlet. They have a set of legislation to weaken and actually to eliminate the public broadcaster in the country. And of course, these sanctions on Haaretz, this is one dimension of this master plan. The other dimension is a very organized, orchestrated, and sometimes funded smear campaign against media outlets in general and individual journalists. Mm-hmm. For example, Prime Minister Netanyahu, who is the master of this master plan, calls the 3 TV channels in Israel Al Jazeera to indicate that they are engaged in treason. You know, he didn't give a sit-down interview in Hebrew for 3 years already. He completely ignores the media. He sometimes ridicules their questions of journalists when he opens his press conference, open his live broadcast to questions by the press. And he doesn't answer properly to any of their questions. So, and all his supporters, of course, are engaged in this smear campaign. And sometimes it's they engage in threats, incitements. You know, they target individual journalists who are covering the criminal case against Netanyahu. He's on trial for corruption. So this is really dangerous. And sometimes it has an implication in the streets when they physically attacked camera crews and journalists when they come on site.
If we talk about what happened in Amsterdam 3 weeks ago, we had the riots here, as you know, between local men and the fans of the Tel Aviv soccer team Maccabi. It was very quickly labeled as a pogrom, also by Prime Minister Netanyahu. What is his goal here?
Look, Netanyahu and the entire Israeli government feel more comfortable at the position of the ultimate victim, you know, based on the Holocaust. So many times when there is a legitimate criticism against the policies of the government of Israel, they tend to frame it as anti-Semitism. And when they frame everything as anti-Semitism, then they can stay at the position of the victim and not as the bully that targets Gaza in such a intensity.
Yes, there was also a report published by the Ministry in Israel of Diaspora and Combating Anti-Semitism titled Dutch-based organizations with ties to Hamas behind the November pogrom in Amsterdam. Now, the Minister of Justice here in the Netherlands said the method of distribution of this report is unusual and undesirable because of the possible negative consequences for Dutch residents. Are you surprised by the mingling of the government of Netanyahu into Dutch affairs?
No. Actually, Netanyahu was mingling into the American policy as well. And again, the fact that Israel is framing everything as anti-Semite, I mean, I think this is the problem that block them from looking at legitimate criticism. And I must say that the Dutch government is very friendly to the Israeli current government. And Prime Minister Netanyahu and your Prime Minister are like kind of allies. So I don't see the point in doing so.
Right, very clear. Anat Saragusti, thank you so much for your time today from Tel Aviv. Thank you.
Thank you and have a good day.
Bedankt voor het kijken. Vond je dit een goed gesprek? Vergeet je vooral niet te abonneren, een like of een comment achter te laten. Dat kan natuurlijk ook.
Maatregelen die nu in de orde zijn, gewoon heel hard geraakt worden, substantieel harder geraakt worden dan andere gebieden in Nederland. En dat wij dat maatwerk nodig hebben, zeg maar, om een vitale onderwijsinfrastructuur in mbo, hbo en wo te behouden.